Ladies and gentlemen,
this is the one we've all been waiting for. It's good night, freaking Irene!
let's get ready to rumble!
Time! And knows how to knock people the fire truck out.
On this episode of the Fight Chase Muay Thai and MMA podcast, we are joined by Ed CARR. Ed is the owner and head instructor of Team Link in Hooksett, New Hampshire, along with being a professional fighter and a lifelong mixed martial artist. Let's get into it. Enjoy. And don't admit to any felonies because it's being recorded, unless you've already been convicted, and then those are great stories.
I gotcha. Not a problem.
Good advice, Kelly.
I'm learning the ropes here.
That's awesome.
All right.
It's been pretty simple, man. I started off, of course, like I think every kid did back in the day with karate. You know, started off with karate. Karate back then, of course, was a little bit different than it is today. I want to say it's a little more traditional, but a little bit rougher too. You know, I know in my area, the schools around our area, I mean, a big school back then was like 50 students, you know, and it wasn't a good class unless you were crawling out of there because you're so sore from the stance work, or even the instructors taking it out on you too. And then, you know, I did that for a long time. I played soccer, basketball, and baseball all the way up into college. I got to college. I took a couple years off from the martial arts because I thought I was going to go to the NBA, but yeah, didn't happen. So then I got back into it, and I did a lot of sport karate, you know, and that was all that was around there, sport karate and kickboxing. And then, like I said, one day I just remember watching Ken Shamrock ankle locking someone in the old school UFC, and next thing you know, my brothers and I were buying books and studying in our garage, heel hooking each other and knee barring each other, and not being able to walk the next day, not understanding what we were doing and why we couldn't walk, you know. But I think everyone that started off back in those days in jiu-jitsu probably did that. And then one day, some guy called me up on the old school AOL and said, "Hey, you want to get together and train?" I said, "Sure." We trained for a while, and he's like, after like 3 weeks, he's like, "Why don't you do a fight?" I'm like, all right. I'm like, and it was the old school pride stuff, 10-minute first round, 5-minute round, and then overtime. All open hand then too, which a lot of people don't understand. That hurts. I know everyone always laughs when they say open hand, but yeah, get hit with an open hand, it hurts. Yeah. And so I did a couple of those old Val Tudo style fights, and then just kept training. I got hooked up with I started training with Roger Wu and then Kevin Landry at the time. We all kind of did our own little thing. One's a Renzo Gracie black belt, and another one's a black belt in another organization. And we just started training together. And then one day I got bored of my job. I said, I'm going to open up a school. So it was like October 2000. I said, I'm going to open up a school. And we all started training at my school in the old school rug. You know, nothing like the old rugs, no padding back then. And it was fun, you know, like I said, you lived and learned. You know, they would spawn with the old small gloves on, the old Harbinger gloves with the bar in the middle of them, and, you know, all that. So, you know, being stupid back then. And then I did that. I did that for a little while. Then I concentrated on my school and jiu-jitsu and this and that. And I've trained with a few people over the years. I was, we'll go a little bit old school, but I was part of the IFL team with the Silverbacks. I trained with Pat Militich and Matt Hughes and those guys. So I used to go out and spend my summers out in Iowa, you know, with those guys and train. That was a whole nother learning experience back then too, you know. Did that for a while, and then just really concentrated on my own fight team here. And we were Militich Fighting Systems for a while, and you know, and as everyone just kind of went off and did their own thing, and that gym kind of dissipated, whatever the word you want to use is I started training with Gabriel Gonzaga, and he's like, "Why did you become part of Team Link?" It's like, okay. So I joined up there, and you know, been with them for about 12 years now, and You know, it's been a learning experience. It's been studying martial arts pretty much my whole life. It's one of those things, just part of me. You know, love the BJJ. I love the Muay Thai. Actually, a fun fact is that I never actually did a Muay Thai match in my life until I was 47 and 48. First time they called me up and like, "You want to try a Muay Thai fight?" I said, "Sure." So I did a couple of those, and it was fun. So, I mean, just you've been to my school. We just like to train hard, have some fun, and and like you said, the old school days of training hard, and then the way we train now is totally different too. Yeah.
And that's like I was telling Kurt is when I met you initially, I was bringing over Nick.
Yep.
And he didn't have a lot of training partners, and we came over and trained with you guys, and you guys were like open arms, and it was different because that was like really when I was new coming from Vanderlei's.
Yep.
And Kurt knows at Vanderlei's we weren't even allowed to train at other gyms.
Yeah.
Like we had, remember that, Kurt, the list of Portuguese words on the wall? Do you remember the list?
Oh yeah.
And like there was a list, and they had the definitions, and they had the trader and all that shit on there, and I was like, man. So we weren't really allowed to train in other gyms, and when I came up here, Nick was getting ready for a fight. We came over to your gym and I met you, and I was like, man, these guys are so friendly.
Yeah.
Like this is this is not what we're used to. And
and honestly, it's not what I would like. Listen, the stories are true. We would go out to Iowa, and you walked into that gym and you were mocked. If you were a new guy, you were mocked. You're like, yep, okay. I remember walking in there, and Tim Shivey goes, "You the heavyweight from New Hampshire?" I said, "Yep." He goes, "Good. You're with me and Ben Rothwell for the week." I said, "Oh shit." And it was a long week. It was a long week. At the end of the week, though, they were like, "Hey, let's go out for dinner." I said, "No, I'm all set with you guys." And they're like, No, trust us." I'm like, "Okay." They went out for dinner. They shook my hand. They said, "Hey, you made it. You showed us that you have something in you. You made it. So you're one of us." I'm like, "Okay, cool." Can't walk, but it was good. But no, like, that's, New Hampshire's small. And, and we have to travel. And there's so much talent in New Hampshire. Yeah. But a lot of people are so used to just traveling 2-3 hours to go train somewhere else. And I don't see the necessity for that. If you got a good training method, good training ways, come train with us. I'm pretty open-minded. Even though I'm the owner and I've been doing this for 21 years. Well, I've been doing this for a lot longer, but the MMA stuff for 21 years, I just want to show everyone everything. Yeah. And I'm not the end-all to be-all, but like, I've seen you come up and I watched you hold pads for Nick, and I was like, he had some good, I like that. So I like to pick and choose and kind of see what other people have too and add it to my style.
Yeah.
And because we've done that, we have a lot of open people coming and things being open, and just love the fact that we, hey, come on up on a Sunday. We had one Sunday training. I invited everyone. We had like 52 people here. I'd use both floors of the gym just to keep everyone happy, but it's a good atmosphere. That's what I would rather have.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
You're frozen.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that. I don't know why.
Or you're a hell of a ventriloquist. Either way, I'm amused.
Yeah, I don't know why. We're working on it though.
Let me see here.
His audio's good.
Yeah, your audio's fine. You're frozen.
Now it just disappeared.
When I'll put up the technical difficulties, remember, like, I don't know, Kurt might not be old enough when your TV turned off at night.
Here we go.
There we go.
There we go. You're back.
Do you remember the screen, Ed, when your TV turned off at night?
Oh, yeah.
You're like, what the hell? Fucking 11:30. There's no more TV. You ran out of TV. Yeah, that's how old I am, Kurt. Fuck you.
I think that happens sometimes, like after infomercials, like at 2 a.m. That's when I would see stuff like that.
Yeah.
When there was only 4 TV channels, but that's okay, Kurt.
Well, and Kelly, you've experienced some of this, because I know, certain gyms in this area, even some gyms in this area, they got their own, like, no, we'd rather have you train with us, or this or that. And, it's like, I just don't understand it,
It's a bad thing. To be that elitist. I understand it if you're going to compete against the other person.
Yes.
Obviously, you don't want to cross-train your camps.
Yes.
But especially up here, like you were saying, there's not a ton of people. And I'm getting a crazy echo. Like I can only hear myself.
Yeah, man, I'm turned down quite a bit.
Yeah, last time you were talking, Kelly, it was like you talked for a little bit and then it went away.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's gone right now.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah. Well, now it's gone, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, like when Kurt and I trained in Vegas, we really were focusing on like jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So we started traveling to train or to compete at like Worlds, and Worlds was always in Long Beach, so we would go over there and we would go train at like Checkmat. Well, Checkmat wasn't associated with us at Vanderlei's. King's was. And we had gone to King's, and nothing against King's, but Checkmat was literally like 2 blocks away. And we had another friend that was good friends with the owner of the Checkmat gym over there. He's like, no, come over. When you guys come into town, come train here. And we went and trained there, and it was like open arms. Like Joao Assis was coaching Kurt against Kurt had a tournament. We were, Worlds? I think we were Worlds.
We were doing Worlds, yeah.
Yeah, and Joao Assis is coaching Kurt, who he had just met, against like one of his high-level guys. Yeah. Kurt was like a purple belt, and the guy was a purple or brown belt, and he was coaching Kurt. So I was like, but it gives you so much more respect for everyone at that gym. Because if you walk into a gym and you kind of are just like shunned, or you get greenlit, you're kind of like, fuck those guys, like you don't want to be there, and it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Now, Kurt and I have both been to Thailand, and we've trained at all these gyms. It doesn't really happen in Thailand, only because, like I've talked about a few times, in Thailand, your fighter is a product of the gym. Like literally, they're selling your fighter, so they don't cross train. It's not in that culture. It really doesn't happen because you're owned by the gym. But even in Vegas now, like I see a lot of the guys that we used to train with are training at all different gyms. They're going one place for their jiu-jitsu. We had some of our pro fighters that we Dave and Pete that we just had on. They were a couple of our coaches. They actually went and trained at Drysdale's Jiu-Jitsu because that was just down the street. So like they were pro fighters, and this was kind of probably the same type of era that you're in, where you didn't have to focus on like, I have a manager and the gym is like the biggest part of me, so they're dictating my career, and you had to fend for yourself. You had to get the best training you could to get the fights, and then to take the fights that you wanted to, not how we have it today where everybody thinks that they need a fucking agent and a manager, and it's like, you have 2 amateur fights. What are you doing? No so, and I mean, Kurt and I really haven't talked about this too much, but like, so how do you handle, now that you have your own gym, how do you handle your fighters? Because I know you have a good stable of fighters. That's what I was telling Kurt before we came on, is you have a good stable of guys, all different sizes, that come in there, they put in their work. Like, how do you handle them as far as getting fights, selective where they can train or not train, or the whole gamut of, I guess, managing fighters these days?
Well, like I said in the beginning, I learned the hard way, because it kind of hurt. I got a couple fighters now that we've made some mistakes. They took some really tough fights all in the beginning, and yet they won. They started being 5-6, 5-0, 6-0, and then only tough fights from then in. Then they lose 2 or 3 in a row, And, so in the beginning, yeah, I was just like, we'll take any fight that comes our way with that type of gym. We won't back down. And then, those, many years ago, then the sport's changed so much. It's a business now, too. And, I really look at the fights now as what's going to get them to the next level. What's your goal? Are you just going to be a fighter that just wants to compete in the local scene? Then, yeah, you can kind of take some different fights here and there. But Nick Alley, for an example, he just beat John Gotti Jr., and that was a big fight. He was on the next radar to be in the UFC, and, Nick did a great job against him. So, we had to really pick and choose. Okay, the UFC basically said you need one more win against a signature opponent. We had all kinds of fights we could have taken. But, we had to really sit down and look which fight makes sense, which is, which is going to get you to that next level, which is going to do this. So, you have to study a little bit more, now, and kind of like, even our woman fighter, Carrie Kennison, who fights for Invictus, she, we do the same thing. They'll offer us 2 or 3 fights. Carrie, let's sit down and watch their last. My theory is this: I watched their very first fight, then I watched the fight in the middle of their career, then I watched the last fight. And the reason why I do that is I want to see if there's a progression. Mm-hmm. And then on that last fight, I'm like, they fight the same way they did the first fight. Let's take this one. They're 4-0. They're not improving. Where this other girl, that's a 4-time All-American wrestler. Her stand-up is nasty. You need a couple more fights before you take that one. So I kind of studied a little bit more now, and kind of like, what do you, I listen to the fighters. I'm not one of those guys like, no, we're taking this fight whether you like it or not. Yeah. Where do you want to be? Where's your career? Where do you want to go? And let's do it. So it's a little more business-like, but we definitely sit down and watch film. We definitely sit down and look at everything, and go at it that way. And much more smarter than the old days. That's for sure. I mean, The old days, I remember being in Iowa, Jeremy Horn fighting Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday, 3 days in a row. It's like, I tell these guys that now, and they're like, are you serious? I go, yeah, that's why he's got 200 or 300 fights right now. I said, but yeah, it's probably not the smartest thing in the world to do, but that's what you had to do back then.
Yeah.
Now the training methods are different. Everything's different. There's more fights, more organizations. And we can be more selective and be smarter about how to get someone to where they want to go.
Yeah. So what would I know? Like somebody like Nick,
yep,
is they're like family to you.
Yeah.
So what if Nick came to you and he was at the top of the heap, and said, hey, I'm gonna go and I got to look for other opportunities to get better. Like, how would you I mean, obviously, I don't see that happening. But, like, for you as a coach...
No, that happens. And again, that happens, actually, because going back to the cross-training thing, that's how I started it. So I was fighting. So I'm 6'1", 200, I walk around at 265. My fight weight's either from 225 to 240. But I have a gym full of people that are 155, 160. Yes, you can learn a lot from them. Yes, there are certain things that you can learn from the smaller people, for sure. But... it was hurting my career to the point where I didn't have anyone my size to train with. So that's why I started training with Gonzaga. He's a giant. So it helped my game out quite a bit, training with some people more my size. I could understand what I need to do, some different methods, some footwork and this and that. And Nick has come to me many times. He's like, hey, listen, I know and honestly, I'm getting older, so I can't get out there as much as I used to. And I used to be one of his main training partners, And he's like, listen, I really need to get some more jiu-jitsu in. Can I go to this place on Sunday? I'm going to train with Nick Fury. Yeah, perfect. Go train with Nick. Nick's an awesome training partner. Go for it. What I mean? And we always communicate that way. Hey, I'm going to go down to Walter Smith Catito School, and he's going to do some sparring with me. We're going to work some drills and some angles. What do you think we need to work on? Walter, work with Nick on this. He goes, perfect. So we always communicate about it. Because you know what I mean? We don't always have everyone that we need to at the gym. We can always give everyone a great workout and this and that, but when it comes to the fight game, I'm pretty open. Hey, listen, I'm going to go here on this Sunday. What do you think? Perfect. Have some fun. Yeah. And I've also been like, no, you're not going there because they go balls to the wall. All they're trying to do is knock your head off, and you're not getting hurt before you fight. You're not going there. And like, okay.
And that's hard for a fighter too, is they go, all right, but that's where the tough guys are.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'm going to go and test myself. And that's where, as a coach, we can step in and go, that's cool after the fight.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Because a fighter, especially getting up to a fight, their confidence is coming up, especially if they're good, top level at the gym. And they're like, I'm gonna go challenge myself. I need to step up my level, and I'm gonna train with these guys, like you say, these murderers that just beat the shit out of each other, that train out of their backyard in the middle of fucking December in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, there's two people, like two very different aspect of like personalities that I think that come out of combat sports in general now is great fighters that never touch on being good coaches.
Yeah.
And then there's good or great fighters that become amazing coaches.
Yep.
And it's because I've talked about it with a lot of people, and as a fighter, a competitor, once you step on the mat, once you go in the ring, once you go in the cage, that's it. You're there. You hope that you learned enough, but you're the only person there. So you put it all on the line. It's a very selfish thing. And while you're getting ready, as much as you're helping the other people, it's very selfish. And then for a coach, it's the complete opposite. Like, we don't give a shit about ourselves. I don't know how many times I've been training with somebody and they can't get like a low kick, and I'll be like, just fucking throw it. And they're like, "What? You're bad." And I'm like, I have to feel where you're throwing this kick because you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, kick me. And so like 10 kicks in, and I'm like, why the fuck am I letting this guy that's 250 kick the shit out of me?
Yeah.
But I'm like, I get it. So you're kind of making that sacrifice where it is in a fighter mentality, you're checking it and returning. You're doing something. You're like, it's counter to what we do as coaching. And it's really interesting because I've had a conversation with lots of people, is that, a lot of great fighters will never make a good coach because
100%.
they were always focused on themselves, which is not wrong. That's how you become a great fighter.
Yeah.
And then you maybe there's some people that are too good at fighting or training, and they don't know how to dumb it down, which I learned when I started coaching is a huge thing.
Yep.
Is you have to be able to explain it to the person that walked in the door the same as you can explain it to the pro fighter that's done it for 20 years.
Yeah.
It needs to be the same mechanics and things like that. And I've met fighters that are fucking amazing. And you go, how'd you do that? And they break it down, and you're like, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, let's go back. Like, how do I stand? And things like that.
We've had fighters from both areas. Like Nick is one of those fighters that can help you out and break it down for you. You ask him a question, and sometimes it's too much. Sometimes like, all right, way too much. But he's amazing at doing that. Then I've had other fighters, like we had a fighter in the UFC, Joey Gomez, who didn't give a shit about anything else. It was his goal, UFC. He just came in, he trained, he left. He trained, he left. He was selfish. Nothing wrong with that. And we understood that. And no one liked training with him because he was just in it for himself. Hey, I'm in UFC, I'm trained, I need to get my work in, I need to go home.
Yeah.
And now that he's retired from that, he's become an amazing coach. And like, I remember sitting down talking to him, he goes, Coach, he even said something like, why does everyone like me now? I said, because before, you were in it for yourself. You were an asshole, you were in it for yourself. No one liked training with you. You won hard, you trained hard, but we all understood what you were doing. Now you're like giving back. Now you understand, and you want to get these other fighters maybe to the same point that you were, and now you're more relaxed and you're training more. Now you understand. He's made, and then I have some fighters that, don't want anything to do with coaching.
Yeah.
They love training, they love the team thing, they're great training partners, but you ask them to help or show them, no, I'm all set. Don't want to do that. It's not my thing. Okay. So it's definitely difficult.
It's even like when you reached out to me a while back to come over and hold pads.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was like very grateful, and I was like, oh shit, you asked me to come over and work with one of your best guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right. And I went over and I worked with Nick, and it's just the way I train people and teach like Muay Thai is Muay Thai.
Yeah.
It's what Kurt and what we experienced. That's how Kurt runs his gym. If you watch any of Kurt's like tutorials, they're all what we learned there, and it's not what you're going to really learn here.
Yeah.
It's a different pad flow. It's a different everything. And I always tell anybody that I'm working with, I try to explain to them, like, this is what works with Muay Thai.
Yeah.
Like, we stand more erect. You're in a rhythm. You're doing different things. And it's like when I worked with Nick, I'm like, well, what is your strong suits? And whatever I show you, don't take it to heart.
Yeah.
Kind of figure out where it would work for you. And I was working with him that night, and I was just some different elbows, and he's like, oh, I never even thought about throwing that there. And it's like, you invited me over to work with him, and I was like, man, that's probably not something that happened 5 years ago in Vegas when Kurt and I were in Vegas. We never had, unless it was a really high level, like Vanderlei's friends, like that's the only assistants or anything that were allowed to come in were like Vanderlei's.
Yeah, well, the reason why I did that was I mean, I don't know how the gym's out in Las Vegas, but, it's a decent sized gym. I got 300 students. Not everyone does MMA. I got karate, I got Muay Thai, I got a little bit of everything. But me, and there's only 2 other people that really are JC's pad holders. So, you get used to those guys after a while.
Yeah.
And you get used to it, and you fall. I don't want to say you fall into a rut, but sometimes you catch yourself on. And I'm like, we need to get you a different look. Mm-hmm. And so my buddy Scott Hazelton and I, we were talking, and he's like, dude, you got to get Kelly down. You got to get him there. I go, I know. I go, I'll get it. And JC's like, let's get a different look tonight. I said, well, I'll call Kelly, see if he can come down and work.
Yeah.
Work with you. And that was the whole thing. I just wanted to give him a different look, a different perspective, because he picked up a couple of different elbows off of you on how to throw them that night, and that's worth it right there. Mm-hmm. And look, he went in and fought John Gotti, which the game plan was to keep it standing, and he did for the most part, except when he needed to take him down, and the stuff worked. Everything worked together well. So.
Yeah. Like, you've taken somebody like Scott. Scott, we're gonna have him on in the next few weeks, and so Scott, Kurt, is the basketball coach that we were gonna have on.
Oh, okay.
So Scott was training with me and training with us, but Scott he has an elite level athlete mind. He's super athletic, but always wants to go. So when he wanted more work, he went over and he worked with Ed and his guys. And then Ed somehow talked him into taking, was it a kickboxing rules or Muay Thai? It was
kickboxing.
Kickboxing fight. Yeah. So he had never competed, and Ed and his guys got Scott to take a kickboxing fight. And, Scott's older. I wouldn't say how old he's. I'm not sure. Probably late 30s, 34. Maybe. Okay,
well, at that time he was 34.
So 34, and Ed and his guys convinced him to step in. And Scott, he was a professional basketball player and overseas somewhere. But so he's a high-level athlete and a high-level coach. And he goes over there, and Ed molds him in and says, yeah. That's a big thing that I see in a contrast of gyms. You took a guy that has, it may not be martial arts like talent. Yeah. I mean, like Scott can pick it up. Scott, anything I ever showed Scott, he picks it up, he takes it to heart, he analyzes it because he's a professional athlete. Yeah. But I've also seen the opposite. Even at Vanderlei's, we kind of had a wishy-washy thing there, is where when you came in as I want to be a fighter, there was a time when they were like, oh, you want to be a fighter, just show up on Saturday. You're going to get your ass kicked, and let's see if you can hang. And then there was, remember, Kurt, we kind of went through a changing of the guard where it was like, oh, you want to be a fighter, here's your criteria. You have to be a blue belt. You have to be at this many classes a week, and you have to do this. And it's like, I see where some gyms, especially now because gyms are a business, like you both own gyms, you see that you can't just do the one fighter gym anymore. Yeah. You have to keep a cardio kickboxing class. You have to keep a kids class. You have to make money, And so
that's what happened in Iowa. Like, I remember Wednesday night sparring in Iowa, there would be people, because at that time they had 3 out of the 5 UFC champions. There'd be people lined up on the wall, and everyone would be in there and would all be sparring, just watching, just watching. But I remember speaking with Pat, and he goes, this doesn't last forever. He goes, eventually, I'm going to have to do this, eventually. And you could see as Pat went on, he'd hire a yoga instructor. He hired this instructor. And he started adding some different programs in. And even though he doesn't have much to do with the gym anymore, but they're still open because they have those other, if it was just fighters, he'd be closed.
Right.
But because he has those different programs, like I have a cardio kickboxing program. I got the kids karate. I got an adult Muay Thai program. I got adult and kids BJJ. I even got a kids Muay Thai now. We got like 20, 30 kids in that. That's awesome. I love teaching that. There's nothing better than seeing a bunch of 8, 9-year-olds having some fun out there. But yeah, you have to diversify a little bit, like the old days. That's what I tell the guys here. I said, when JC first started, we'd have 15 people in an MMA class, and 13 of those people were professional fighters or fighters at the time, and 2 just normal students.
Yeah.
Well, those normal students wouldn't last because we're all fighting, getting ready for our own fights, and everyone's kicking the shit out of each other back then and doing it. And now it's the opposite. Now we have 25, 30 people in the MMA class, and, because we have so many classes, 4 or 5 fighters here, 4 or 5 fighters there, because they can all pick and choose the classes they need to do. So it's definitely a different method now, for sure.
Yeah. So both of you have fighters. How are you as gym owners cultivating to still bring up fighters? Because I know there's some gyms that are like, that's a bad look. We don't even want the fighters on the same mats. We want to hide the fighters. We're gonna have that class goes on in the shed out back. Like how both of you're. I mean, I know Kurt is developing fighters. He's developing a lot of Muay Thai fighters right now. I know that you develop fighters. So like, how have you guys made it so you can still do that and incorporate the normal classes and the bread and butter to these gyms?
I think for me, I have everybody in on the same class doing drills. And, I pull guys to the side and we'll do pads together. They're getting ready for fights. And then I just have a separate time for them to do, their sparring, their clinch training. We'll do some boxing training. And I just separate out those times. And if you're not ready for that type of training, then I just don't let you do it. Like basically, like my newer guys, if they want to do it, I tell them when they're ready to do it. You know what I mean? So I just kind of separate them out there, but I still like the idea of having, the normal students coming in. I like them to work with the fighters a little bit too, in the general class. What about you, Ed?
Well, that's exactly what I do. We love doing that. Like, I'm a little bit old school. We like putting the fight banners up on the wall. Mm-hmm. So we have some Bellator, some UFC, some Invicta fight banners up on the wall. And, and you see people come in at first, new students, and they're like, and at first they'll get a little intimidated. But then, I like having all the groups together. I tried separating it at one time. Fighters here, and it didn't work. The fighters didn't even like it. The fighters wanted to be part of helping these people grow. So I always have the new people. We all do our drills together. I do the same thing. We do our drills together. We work together. But when it comes to this specific training, we'll set up our own times. Same thing as you do, Kurt. And let's do this. This is what we're doing today. This is what we're doing. Like Sundays is Nick's and I time to come in and we watch video and we drill. We just drill for like an hour and a half. That's what he wants to do. Drill. Okay. Thursday nights I work with another fighter. It's our time to hit pads and work on some advanced techniques. And the thing I like to do the most is I like to put the new people, and they always get freaked out at first, with the fighters. Mm-hmm. So when they're holding pads, the fighters understand what to do. And the new people are like, I got to go with JC, I got to go with Kerry. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, they're fighting. I go, trust me. It's a theory. You put 2 white belts together on a BJJ mat, they're trying to kill each other.
Yeah.
I mean, they're trying to, there's no tapping involved. And, hey, let go. They tap, Same thing with, MMA. You put 2 new people together and they're killing each other. The fighters are going to control the pace. They're going to understand what to do, and they're going to be able to explain the technique.
Yeah.
So that help cultivates the new people can see the fighters getting involved. I have all my fighters do private lessons too with the kids in kickboxing and other classes. Hey, listen, you want privates? Ed, I do like 20 privates a week already. I'm like, Nick Alley needs a private. Kerry, you can do a private this day. I have them come up and, even jump into a karate class. Because they all, when any of them fight, they all watch it on TV. Even the karate students, so the whole school watches it. So when they walk in, they're like, oh, all the kids, come on out, we'll play some games. So I like to get everyone involved too in all the programs. So that way the parents aren't like, oh my goodness, they're fighters. It doesn't give it that bad reputation. Like, as much as I love The Ultimate Fighter, look at what that portrays. Drinking, training, and fighting, and that, like parents would be like, well, I just watch Ultimate Fighter. And I'm like, that's not really what we're doing. I'm not saying we don't ever drink, but that's not really what we're doing, and then you explain it to them and get everyone involved. And when the parents see the fighters coming up and see how they are, they're like, oh, this is awesome. They just understand it more. It makes it more of a friendlier atmosphere.
Yeah, we had that. I mean, Kurt can attest to this. Is like, we've told this story a bunch of times. Like, my first time meeting Vanderlei was my first day to going into the gym, and I was waiting for a class to start. I had gone to another MMA gym and hated it, and then was not in the gym for a couple years and sitting there waiting. And Vanderlei walks in, and we're in a gym of the Axe Murderer. There's a fucking picture of him outside, that picture, like it's plastered on the side of a giant warehouse. So it was intimidating going there. And he walks up, he says, "Thank you, man, thank you." And I'm like, huh? Thank you for what? Like, who am I? And he does that every time he walked in the gym to everyone. And then once I started classes, my first Muay Thai classes were with George Lopez, who was I think he'd already had a UFC fight, so he was Vanderlei's protege. And so my first coach, in my mind, was already a UFC fighter. I'm like, holy shit! I'm like, and then once you start getting to where you're comfortable training, and then I was a white belt. I was training with Kurt. Kurt would wad me up every day. He was a seasoned purple belt. Just beat the shit out of me every day. I'm like, fuck. But then I was like, oh, this guy's we're cool. Like, he knows that I'm going to be here. I'm going to put in work. I'm working my ass off. And that you build that respect. And then, like, when Kurt and I would train all the time, we were training with all the fighters. Yeah. Like, all of the fighters trained with us. And it gives you that kind of, obviously, it cements your team. It makes a team. Because you know that even if you're that white belt, and I was that white belt, and we had one of our Muay Thai coach was getting ready for a fight in Japan. And he was a killer black belt, Muay Thai fighter, everything. And he's like, "Do you want to train?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And him and another black belt for 2 months, while I was maybe 2-stripe white belt, beat the shit out of me every night. Like, beat the hell out of me. And I never stopped. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here on the holidays. I remember.
Whoa. What happened there?
Kurt left us.
Kurt left.
He's like, I'm still here.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, I'm back.
So like that type of thing. Like, I was in there on holidays. I was nobody. Yeah. And you kind of you feel appreciated, and then you become part of that team. And I remember going to birthday parties for like Vanderlei and fight parties, and you're in this circle of any Brazilian that came into Vegas trained with us. Yeah. Now you're like, holy shit! Like, I'm part of one fight team. The friends that Kurt and I trained with have gone on to to Bellator, to UFC, to world champion jiu-jitsu players and all that stuff. And it's like, now it's harder because the path to do all of that seems to be like a longer path. There's so many more people out there doing it. Kurt, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you see me?
No. I picture you getting your hand raised.
Is that picture, Kurt? Is that the one from the bar in Thailand?
I don't.
Speaking of that, that's a funny story too about the old days. So this is what would happen. There was this bar in Iowa. One side of it was a country bar, and the middle was a cage, and the other side was like a rock and roll bar. And we'd always go out there, and, for dinner. You'd take everyone out there. And Pat was notoriously known. That was like one of the ways that was like my first smoker kind of type deal. We walked up, and he'd be like, "So you want to fight?" he'd open up the trunk, he'd put some gloves, he goes, well, I signed you up tonight, you're fighting. You're like, what? Okay.
Like the old school tough man tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, I guess we're going. So, no, I agree with you on that. You know, the team atmosphere, like, you know, that's the way it was with Pats back in the day. And, you know, I took some of that stuff, you know, that team camaraderie, you know, brought it here too. You know, we do a lot of stuff together. We watch the fights together. You know, like, because of everything that's going on now, the pandemic, you know, there's no crowd. So Nick, Ross, and I will go down, we'll, you know, do the fight, but everyone will be at the gym watching it downstairs on the TV, you know, cheering them on. And then as soon as the fight's over, the phone's blowing up, everyone's calling all on Skype, this, that, and, you know, it's kind of, you know, the same thing. We try to create that atmosphere.
Yeah,
you know, and that's what's cool. You know, you want to make everyone, and even the new people see that, and they're like, I want to be part of that.
Yes.
You know, and I have people all the time be like, hey, can I come train with you and Nick tomorrow on Sunday? I'm like, oh, man, listen, that's really just Nick's time. You know, you've only been here for a couple weeks. Let's get you some training in, some techniques down, you know, let you learn. Eventually, if you have to work with some of the fighters on a more consistent basis. But right now, okay, cool, we understand. Just want to be part of the team. I go, you'll be part of the team. Just put your work in. You know,
man,
so.
yeah. Like I said, like at Vanderlei's, we had, you know, even before Vanderlei was with Venom, we always had like official team member shirts and things like that. You know, and it was like, if you wanted to wear that was like, especially we had Extreme Couture, we had, you know, whatever I don't even remember the other gyms. We had Extreme Couture, and basically us were like the big rivals back in the day. And so like you always wanted to walk around with like representing the gym.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny, it's like even when I came up here, I still had a big One Fight Team sticker on the back of my car.
Oh yeah.
And everybody's like, where's that? And I'm like, oh, that was my team in Vegas. And even I got tattooed after I left there. I have a One Fight Team tattoo. And it was kind of like, I competed under them. I trained with all the fighters. That was my family. All of those guys are great friends with me. And it's like there's a few of us that have it. And then the guys that you have it, pretty much everybody that has that tattoo are close.
Yes.
Like you've been to battle with each other. You've helped each other in shitty times, like all of that stuff. And it's just that whole team aspect that it's good that, like, I saw that when I came to your gym. And I've been to other gyms and you don't see that. You see the clicking and things like that, unfortunately. And it's sad because I understand, like we were talking, is you have to create this money machine. I mean, you're creating a business, but then you have these cliques and these separations, and then there's high school-y stuff going on at some gyms, you know, where we don't like this person, or that person was dating this person. There's just a weird shit that goes on.
Yeah,
And
I mean, yeah, no, I agree with you, man. It's crazy, but all the stuff, you know, like even in a small state like New Hampshire, all the politics is still huge, you know.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've gone to some schools and trained with some people, and by the time I get back, I'll use you as an example. No one's ever said anything, but, oh man, great training with Kelly tonight. It was an awesome job, da-da-da. And by the time I get back to school, I get to, why would you train with him, da-da-da. I'm like, it's not your business, you know. Listen, he's done nothing. He's a great guy. Let's train. Let's have some fun. You know what I mean? It happens, but like I tell him, I'm too old for the high school stuff, man. I mean,
exactly.
I go, we all build reputations, our own stuff, and, you know, we control our own destiny, and this is what I want to do, and, you know, and I'm doing well at it, and, you know, I'm going to do it, so.
And it falls back a lot on the coaches or the owners too, is how they let their students portray that aspect of the gym. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be, like I said, my first impression of you when I met you is like, you reminded me of the Vanderlei-esque, like those kind of guys, straightforward. Let's get these work in. You were talking to me like we had known each other, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. You know, there's a respect there. There wasn't like, why did this fighter bring another coach in to watch him train? Like, what is that? And that happens, and it's kind of like, I get it. Like I said in the beginning, is like, if you're going to go against, if you're a rival, of course, that's dumb. But if you're getting work in and you're trying to, everybody's improving and things like that, it goes back to the head of the organization, the head of the gym, the head coach is just kind of dictating how people need to present themselves and how to, you're a team at that point and you're representing the gym. We were always told that we're representing Vanderlei's gym. Sure. When we go to fights, we represent the gym. When when you're out in public and you wear that shirt, or what, you're representing the gym, and you need to. We were always told, like, hey, you need to do this shit the right way. You need to, we're not running out and starting fights or any of that shit. We weren't. I don't remember Vanderlei's gym as being. We didn't really talk shit. There wasn't any of that trashing the other gyms or anything like that. We kind of just held ourselves to our own standards and let that speak for itself.
It's kind of the same way here. I don't think there's anyone in here really, talks a lot of shit. Like Nick Alley, I think the biggest shit talking to you, that's why he goes, John Gardy Jr., I hope you're ready because this is going to be your toughest fight you ever had. That was it. The rest of it, I'm training hard. I'm going to, go and do my best. I'm going to win the fight. And so the same way, we all know we got a job to do, and the fighters know that they're held to a certain standard, and they know that that standard's got to be kept. If not, they don't fight, or they're not part of the team, of course. But they're all held to that standard too.
So where do you, bringing up fighters this day and age, where do you, or do you tell them that they need to bring their personality out?
You know what? I let them do it. As long as it's within, I don't want to say the rules or protocol, but as long as it's within the, agrees with what, the principles of what we have on the fight, you know what I mean? If like someone wants to go out there and talk a lot of trash, but it's, hey, we got to promote this. One of our guys, Ken Murphy, he's like, listen, this kid's talking, I'm going to talk. I'm just letting you know. He goes, I'm going to keep it within what we need to, but I'm going to talk a lot. Okay, cool. He went out there, did his trash talk. They had fun back and forth. I kind of let them grow their own personalities. That's what you got to. Mm-hmm. I've never been one of the, I don't want a school full of robots. I don't want them all being, you have to act this way, this way, this way only.
Yeah.
Them develop their own personality, their own style.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give my point of view, I'm like, hey, I don't know if that's really you or not. Let's just concentrate on the fight. But, you do what you need to do as long as you're training. If I see something getting a little out of hand, the trash talk, step back some,
Yeah.
But for the most part, let them develop their own personalities and have some fun with it. And, because ultimately I'm helping them and I'm guiding them and stuff and helping get, but ultimately, it's a business. They have to grow too, and they have to figure things out on their own too.
Yeah. Kurt, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. It says my camera's on, but apparently it's not turning on because I can't see myself.
Whatever, bro. So, Kurt, what do you got?
So kind of the same thing I asked to a lot of people. I'm going to start kind of with this one, you being a coach. So what advice would you give to like a fighter that's like just starting out? Like they're just entering the sport. Like what's some advice that you would give to them?
Patience. I we got a lot of new, we've even had, it doesn't matter from what background you come from, same thing, patience. We've had All-American wrestlers come in here that have been unbelievable, ready to fight. No, patience, you'll get there. Here's your fight, patience. Where do I go next? But you still got training to do, patience. We got to, hey, you won this fight, but look what happened. Here, and let's go over this fight and watch it. Let's work on this, patience. Let's train. We'll get you there. Like I said, it's not like the old days where you have to fight 2 or 3 times in a week and to get somewhere. Now there's more opportunities out there. So I like to tell them, come on in. You can be a fighter. How long is it going to take? I can't answer that question. Well, why can't you? It's not up to, it is up to me to a point, but it's up to you and how much time and effort you put in too and how long. And they're like, okay. And I said, and be patient with it. Because after 6 months, I always get asked, can I fight yet? No, not yet. You know what I mean? Just patience. Be there. You'll get there. And and that's another reason I usually like to have my fighters always try a kickboxing or Muay Thai fight first before an MMA fight. So they can get that competition feel for one, get kicked and punched and elbowed or kneed, and get that out of their system to see whether or not, okay, this is cool, let's move on, or no, I don't like this, this is what I thought, okay, there we go. Because those are 10-ounce gloves, 12, not 4 ounces. Yeah. And it's gone both ways. I've had some people be like, just want to fight Muay Thai for the rest of their career? Okay. And I've had some that be like, okay, I'm ready. And I've had some be like, that sucked. I don't want anything to do with it. I'm done. Let's just train. Okay, fine. And so just patience is the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing I always like to preach to everyone. Have fun first. Don't come in there. Kerr, you guys all have gyms or been part of gyms and stuff. How many times have you, new student come in, I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to be a 170-pound champ, and I'm getting a contract to the UFC. Okay, well, what's your background? I've never trained before in my life.
I trained UFC.
Well, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think that's a really good advice. Yeah, I hear that all the time. They think they could just jump in there right off the bat. And it's a process. And I do the same exact thing when people tell me they want to fight. Is I'll have them do kickboxing or a Muay Thai fight, and then a jiu-jitsu tournament. Usually, I have
absolutely.
both before they ever do an MMA fight, because it's people think that they're just gonna be able to jump in there in front of all their family and friends. Yep. And one, you have to get used to actually getting hit, and two, you have to learn to compete under that pressure. And if you've never done it before, it's so much different than what you probably think.
Yeah, we didn't have that opportunity when I was growing up to do that, but these guys do. And I always use that story. So I've had a lot of kickboxing matches, but only 2 Muay Thai matches, because that's what we grew up with. But I was only 6-1 in MMA, because then I decided to concentrate on my school more than fight. And but I always tell them that story, my one loss. I had sold, I always got to do, because I sold a lot of tickets, 50% of ticket sales. So, back then in New Hampshire, it's not bad. I was like, I'm getting $5,000 tonight to do this fight. This is awesome. The whole crowd's in here. It's all from the school. Da-da-da. I remember I got liver shot with 10 seconds left and froze. I'm like, I can't move. And I legitimately froze. My mind saying punch. And I remember the ref saying, maybe 30 seconds left. The ref saying, Ed, do something. It wasn't happening. We've all been liver shots, so we know what that's like. He stopped the fight. And I remember turning around looking, and everyone from my school was like, Sensei lost. I was like, no, that's rough. That's rough. Yeah, so I'm like, I don't want them to deal with that.
Yeah.
I mean, so jiu-jitsu, the same thing, Kurt. Too. What's up? No. Yeah. Jerry's still 325. But jiu-jitsu, I always tell them, go in there and have fun.
Yeah.
And they're like, of course your everyone's goal is to win. But go in there and have fun. I guarantee you after your first match, you're going to come in with your forearms out so tight and be like, I can't move. What's going on? Massage them, ice them, rub them. No, coach, I'll be fine. I go, I'm telling you that's what's going to happen. Just listen to me. It always happens. They come back, what happened? What's wrong? I go, you got to learn to control that adrenaline. It's that adrenaline. Yeah. And this is why you do it, so you can learn that control and learn what to do. And they're like, then it clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess what was that?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, I think I echoed.
Yeah.
Oh, so my next question, kind of along those same lines, if you get somebody that's going in there to compete, do you have a process that you use to kind of calm them down, calm their nerves down, deal with the fear a little bit?
I kind of do that through training.
Yeah.
I'll kind of do that through training. I'll kind of, I'll get in there and work with them a little bit. I'll put a little pressure on them. Everyone's biggest fear with a lot of people is, when people get on top of me, I freak out. I don't know what to do. I'm like, all right, well, guess what we're doing today? Side control them out, you know what I mean? And, I'll kind of try to adjust them the best we can through training. Or we'll even do little rounds we'll call them shock take rounds. Even in jiu-jitsu, we'll have 8-minute round, a fresh person every minute. And they'll be on side control, the mount, just dealing with that pressure. of getting them ready and trying to deal with it. So, I mean, the best way I deal with it is probably through training and communicate and talk with them.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Like a lot of either guys have like a mental process they go through, or they just rely on the training. They just they know they put in the work, so they don't really have to worry about it. So that's like, because I always ask the fighters the same question. It's always those two same things. Like maybe they do a little visualization, or they just make sure that they don't cut any corners.
And a lot of our fighters are held accountable too. They all have a mental coach. So they all sit down and talk with a mental coach, and he's definitely getting them well prepared. The mindset and how to think and what to think, and how to deal with the press, how to deal with certain things. You're going in this fight, you're a killer, you're this, you're that. So you can definitely see, like with Nick right now, he's in that, not only the nitty gritty, because he's got to fight April 1st, but not only in the nitty gritty of his camp, but the mental aspect of his coach is really mental coach is pushing him too, because his training and how he's thinking and coming in and training hard and just like, I'm a warrior, I'm a killer. You can definitely see that helping too. And that helps out quite a bit with a mental coach.
Oh, that's really cool that you're bringing somebody like that in. It's interesting.
Yeah, I actually use one. I use them too, because even as a coach, it actually helps me out because, over the years I've learned, like I said, we've all learned, but, back the old school way is my way of the highway type of thing. And, you try and live and learn, and, working with a mental coach and stuff like it makes you think and look at things differently. But I also have to be on the top of my game too, and giving the fighters what they need too. And, so when I start slacking off and doing something, I'll get a phone call. That's not what we do. That's not what we discuss. Read your notebook, read your mantra, read your this and that. Get back on track. Okay, sir, gotcha. Stuff like that.
Well, that's really cool. So I guess my last question here is, like, throughout, kickboxing, MMA, everything, do you have like somebody that sticks out like as a favorite opponent, like a fight that you really enjoyed?
Well, no, the only, like, to be honest with you, most of my fights, all ended in the first or second round. Usually do a ground and pound type of situation, so none of them really stuck out. I had some big fights. One fight sticks in my mind a little bit, but the one that I lost, of course.
Oh.
That was the shot. That one, even to this point last year, I tried to get back. I'm like, let's run it. I go, you're the same age as me. He wanted to look at it. I said, let's do it. Let's have an old man fight. Let's just do it. Run it back. Come on. He goes, I want this one. And, but unfortunately, he had some health issues. He couldn't do it. So, that's really it. It's that one fight that I lost, because I know I made the mistake. I know I dropped. I know I zigged when I should have zagged, and he caught me with the liver shot. And I'm like, stupid.
Yeah.
Should have just kept it to the ground and beat him up. But no, I wanted to prove I could stand up, and mentally he got me. So.
Yeah. All right, Kelly, what you got?
I kind of wanted to touch on that because I didn't know you used the mental coach, but like if you follow Ed on like Facebook, it's nothing but positivity. Like it's always like just positive shit overflowing. And I love that. Like some people I look at it like, because I know you. So some people I look at it and go, Jesus Christ, like, are you on Pinterest or some shit every morning? Like pulling this stuff off and just kind of fucking throwing it out there. But one, obviously, I don't know that they're all your words per se, but you don't just grab an image and throw a motivational image out.
What I do is I read a lot. I love to read, and I read a lot of quotes. I read a lot of poetry and stuff like this, and there'll be a lot of those things that will stick out to me, and I'm like, oh, and I'm not going to lie, I'll take this quote and be like, yeah, I can make this work for my fighters, and I'll change it. I'm not going to lie, I'll change it and be like, and give it towards the fighting aspect of things, of life and fighting and training, and put my own words in. So I'll switch it up a little bit, and then post it, and I do that a lot, and I get a lot of shit for it, but I'm like, hey, I get a lot of positive. A lot of people come back and say, hey, thank you for that today. It was awesome. I needed to hear that.
And that's the thing is even just like when Kurt and I started this, I'm like, we've had a lot of super amazing positive people on, and like I told you when we started, I don't come on with an agenda. I don't, like, even when we have the high level pro fighter, my point isn't to have you on and go, what's your next fight?
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit. I want to know about you and the person. And Kurt and I have had people on that people don't know that we've had on, and we just kind of shelved them.
Yeah.
It didn't go positive. Like I don't like to put out negative anything. Like I'm old enough where I'm like, I would never trash talk anybody. I'd rather just walk away, you know. And when I met you, and I you know, like I said, it was an old school vibe, and then I follow you on social media, and that's all positive shit. And it's like, especially this day and age, people look at, like, if you're their coach, I'm their coach, Kurt's a coach, and they go, oh, well, what's Coach Ed saying? What is Coach Kelly saying? What's Coach Kurt saying? If we're saying, fuck that gym, or that ref was bullshit, or like, even if that's really what happened, that negativity, they feed off of that. And that's kind of, we're feeding them, and we're helping them grow. And, you know, even on the small level that I was coaching here, it's kind of like, I noticed that people respond to the way I act and what I put out. You know what I'm saying? So like, I see what you put out, and I'm like, that's it. That's good. And I know it's genuine just from personally knowing you. And so it's like, all right, I'm down with that. So
100%. I mean, that's what I want. You know, like at the fight, so I'm super intense. I'm like, don't mess with my fighters. It's my team. But at the end, we're all shaking hands. I'm always making sure, hey, you know, I walk right over to the other corner if they want. If they say, you know, but I walk, hey, that was an awesome job, man. I'm proud of you. It was a great fight. You know, hey, you know, you did a great job, blah, blah, blah. And then coaches look at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, you know, it is what it is, man. You know, two guys stepping in the cage. You know, I always tell people, I still like to get out there. You know, this is my sport. This is my life. You know, and if I don't do it for like a week or two, I'm kind of lost. I'm like, oh, what do I do? You know, this is our life. You know, two guys, and I said, you know, there's two people in the cage punching each other, especially in New Hampshire. Not for a lot of money at all. Sometimes amateur for free.
Right.
They both deserve respect.
Anybody that makes the walk, anybody. Yeah. I don't care if you're doing it as a fucking joke. If you got the balls to make that walk, you have nothing but respect. And like you were saying, is like, Kurt knows. So after a traditional Muay Thai fight in Thailand, you don't go to your own corner. You go to the opposite corner. The opposite corner gives you water. They're rubbing your shoulder, like, and it's just, that's natural. Whereas, like you said, you'll get a coach that looks at you and go, what the fuck is he coming over for? You know, and it's like, it's one of those things that people that understand it, people that are like Kurt's instilling, you know, the tradition of what we've learned into his fighters. You're instilling like your personal, like, hey, you know, you went to war with this guy. You better give him respect. Win, lose, or draw, when you're done, you give him, his coaches, his team respect. They did as much as they could to put themselves in there. And that's a big thing, is because we have guys like that coach that's looking at you going, what the fuck is he coming over here for?
Yeah.
That's something in his mind that maybe next time he goes, oh, remember when Ed came over? We should go, you know, pay that forward. And it's kind of just building, you know, like I said.
I've had a lot of the guys call me up and be like, hey, my dude's got a fight coming up, you know, and then you got some small guys, some great wrestlers. You mind if we come down and train? Yeah, absolutely. Come on down and train.
Yeah.
You know, so it definitely works out, man. It's a great lifestyle. It's a great sport. Just as long as, you know, I mean, you know, I believe in what I do, and I think I got a good thing going. So, and you know, it's a positive thing. So I'm good. You know, it's good. Life's good.
Definitely. All right, Ed. I know you got some other stuff to do. So I have some very, very important questions. Starting with, Kurt laughs because these are the questions that everybody gets.
Yep.
All right. So when you're a big guy, I don't even know if this applies. Do you get a cheat food? Is there one of those things that you're training? You're like, fuck, I wish I could just, you know, I know this is going to make me feel like shit, but when I'm out of camp, I have to have this.
100%. Whenever I've trained, cheat food, ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Ice cream. Don't matter. Ben and Jerry's, anything ice cream.
Oh, God.
Yeah, ice cream, man. It's my downfall.
And then, all right, so when you and Nick are putting in hard work, it's just the two of you in the gym. I know Nick probably he listens to some weird ass shit, but like, you know, when you're listening to music, if it's not Nick's turn to run the radio there, what are you playing that's getting you pumped up and getting you going?
I'm always old school 90s hip hop. Man, that's what I like. 90s hip hop, the old school Biggie and all that stuff. And
Oh yeah.
that's what I like. That's what gets me going. Yeah, Nick's got some weird music, that's for sure. But,
like I was training him with him, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you listening to?" Because it was like some mumble rap, country music, and rock. I'm like, "What the fuck?"
yeah, no, yeah, his genre is wide, man. It's like I just put the 90s rap on and just let's go.
I had it's funny you say that is because I was training at Phuket Top Team, and I got bronchitis, and I was going in, and everyone was sick, so they're kind of like, just train, and I was training, and I remember one day I walked in, and it's always Thai music playing, and there's some Thai songs that I'm like, really, they're fucking hilarious, and I don't know the words, but you start dancing, so all your trainers are dancing shit. But one day I walked in, and Biggie was on, and I was like, and you're just kind of getting like a flow, and you're like, yeah, all right.
No doubt.
All right, and so I have two more. One serious, one is very serious. This very serious one is aliens. Do aliens exist? What's the deal with aliens?
Hell yeah, man. Hey, listen, this is my theory on that. These guys have been watching us forever. Now, we are in their world. They're watching us. We're in their world. I'm sorry, that's just what I feel. All this truth is coming out now, all this and that. And I just feel like at any point in time, if they want to come down on us, they can come down on us. And if they wanted to. So, yeah, man, no, they exist for sure.
All right, Ed. One last thing. I've asked a few people this. You're an OG in the sport and building what you've built. So, at the end of the day, what is Ed leaving? What do you want people to remember that you did or stood for or anything like that?
My passion. I want people to see how hard. I want people to understand. I don't want to say this. My passion and my love. I want them to. That's what I want to give to them. I want to give them the same thing, so they can experience. I'm fortunate to have a gym. I'm fortunate to have a job that you love. Fortunate to have, and happy with it. Yeah, you have your days. Oh, I don't want to teach today. That happens all the. But overall, it's a job that I love to do, and I'm fortunate. And I just want people to understand, that, my passion for it, and my love for it, and how hard and how much I gave and how much I care. That I want to see them do the best that they can do, too. Yeah.
All positive shit.
Yep.
All right, Ed, we're going to let you go. Any social media, your fighters, gym, what do you want to shout out?
You can follow us on either on Facebook at Ed CARR, on Facebook at Ed CARR. You can Team Link, Tokyo Joe's Studios, also on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter at Team Link. And don't forget, April 1st, Nick Alley's fighting another big dude on the UFC radar. April 1st for CFFC in Pennsylvania. It'll be on Fight Pass. So we're definitely looking forward to him taking another step up. And then hopefully next time we talk, we'll get Nick on here. We'll be talking about we'll be talking about him going to the UFC. So
hell yeah. Awesome. Ed, man, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Kurt.
All right.
Absolutely, man.
Hey, buddy, we'll talk to you later, okay?
Sounds good, buddy. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Have
Thanks.
a good day, bud. Alrighty. Bye.
Thank you once again for listening to the #1 combat sports podcast, the Fight Chase Muay Thai and MMA podcast. You can follow us on Fight Chase on all the social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And also, don't forget you can support us at any time going to the anchor.fm/fightchase, hit the support icon, and you can support us for as little as 99 cents a month. We truly appreciate it. Thank you for listening. And Kurt, don't say boom. Boom.
The big kibbles! Locks out moisture, seals in freshness. Good night, Irene. Double hammer fist! Double hammer fist! Double hammer fist! Seconds remaining for a great survival story. She survived. It's good night, freaking Irene.
Hey guys, Kelly from Fight Chase. So today what I want to talk to you guys about is Project 52. Project 52 is a new project that I'm going to embark on, hopefully July, August type of time when I get back over to Thailand. So most of you have known, I left Las Vegas, came to New Hampshire, and then was basically living in Thailand. Came back for some visa stuff to the States, and COVID hit. So now here we are, over a year later, and we're just waiting for the travel restrictions and things like that to kind of ease back so I can get back to Thailand. But today we're talking about Project 52. Project 52 is something that I have dreamt up that I want to do, and I want to do with all of you. And what it is there's 52 weeks in a year, and I'm going to visit 52 gyms in 1 year. So what I'm going to do is one gym a week for 1 year. These are 52 different locations all over Thailand. I want to go up north. I want to visit some gyms that people may have never heard of. There's so many gyms that people have never heard of. So I want to I'll bring you to the big gyms. I'll bring you to the small gyms that maybe no one's ever seen. I'll just do these research and find these gyms and bring you guys to that. So this is a project that obviously I can't do on my own, as far as I'm going to be doing all the recording, all the editing, all of the research, scheduling, traveling, all of this on my own. The only thing that I'm going to need you guys to do, other than enjoy all the content, is the financial part. And if I had the money, honestly, I would just do it on my own. So I've set up a few different things that if somebody wants to help back this and kind of join in on the journey, is we have t-shirts. T-shirts really don't do much as far as put too much in the money. If you buy a t-shirt, I believe I make probably $5, but that $5 is appreciated. It'll go right into the fund for the project. While I'm doing this whole project, I'll be doing writing an ebook on the travel, on the experience, and probably on maybe all the gyms and then section them. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to go. So again, that'll be one of the products that's going to come out of this. I'm going to be doing I'm looking over here, I apologize, it's where my notes are. I'm going to be doing a video of the training from each gym, just like I do now, but this is 52 gyms. Weekly content will be put out. So if I go to a new gym, you'll have a new video of the gym, kind of a tour of the gym. You'll have a new video of the training at the gym. You'll have more artistic line photos with my nice DSLR. I'm going to take photos of each location. You've seen some of the gyms that I've done, and I did it at some Arts Gym. I did it at 13 Coins. I've done some at Fairtex, like real nice high resolution, kind of more artsy type photos that people can enjoy, like Instagram looking photos. So you'll have a weekly journey recap. So it'll be me talking about how I got to these places. If you ever travel around Southeast Asia, you sometimes will get into cabs or a bus or a specific kind of vehicle to get somewhere that's not really known to other people. So it's part of the journey. I rode a bus in Cambodia that had no seats. They had bunks, and it was like an overnight bus. And after I rode it, everyone was like, "Oh, it's super dangerous," and I'm like, it wasn't very comfortable either. So like I said, we have the shirts. They're available through fightchase.com, the shop, and it's Project 52 shirts. Obviously, any of the other shirts there, they also will benefit this project because this is where all my money's going to go. I'm going to be doing a Patreon. It's already set up. So the Patreon, you have different levels of support, anywhere from $10 up to, and it's a monthly subscription. So you'd be paying, that amount of money going towards the project monthly. I also want to do a GoFundMe, kind of to get the project known, and you'll be able to donate there, like a one-time thing. The Patreon is an overtime thing, and there's different tiers, and the different tiers give you different things. Like, there's a tier that you'll get a t-shirt, there's a tier that your name will be in the credits of all the videos, there's a tier that you're the main sponsor. Then you basically, your brand, company, and or if it was an individual person, would be marketed alongside of Fight Chase, as the journey would be brought to you by them. I kind of think of it similar as like if an athlete was sponsored by Nike, their main sponsor, and that's who's giving them the financial backing to embark on their journey. So that's kind of the financial steps as far as I have figured out so far. All of these will be set up. Like I said, the Patreon set up. We have Venmo and all that stuff. So if you just wanted to kind of donate a few bucks or something like that, that you could send that over to me, and it goes directly to this fund. This fund isn't going to be used to anything else other than making this 52 gyms in 1 year, 52 weeks, a success. Another thing that we'll be doing as in me, but if you help donate, you're part of this project. You're going to embark on this experience with me. You could even dictate kind of where you want to see next. If I'm in a certain region, if you've heard of a certain gym, you're like, hey, can you try this? Another thing that I want to do, I have a lot of friends now. I have a lot of friends in the industry. I have a lot of fighter friends. I have a lot of friends that go on vacation to Thailand. They're like, oh, I'm going to go for the Muay Thai holiday. Great. Hit me up. You can become part of this project. You will be with me. I'll take you to a gym. We'll record the whole thing. You'll be a special guest. I'm going to have some of my friends that are there, athletes, fighters, and things like that, join me on these things. So you'll have a different point of view. You can have me as a trainer from the States, as a enthusiast, my point of view of the gym, and then you could have in the same episode a UFC athlete, their point of view of the gym. So it's going to be kind of like a whole series. I mean, this is 52 weeks. 52 weeks is more than most of your TV shows will put out episodes weekly. That we'll be putting this content out. Me, along with your help. So I'm trying to, anything else, I apologize. I'm just trying to speak and let you guys know exactly what I'm trying to do. So you've seen a couple of posts that I've had up about Project 52. This is Project 52. Me, back in Thailand, 52 gyms, 52 weeks. Okay, 1 year of training, that's it. Now, you get to watch it. You get to have a say on where we go. You get to enjoy the experience. You get to see the ups and downs. There's going to be possibly injuries and sicknesses, or who knows? It's a crazy adventure. All of this will be put out in video content weekly, and this is something that I like to do. The reason I started Fight Chase is to get people to understand that getting over to like Thailand or wherever your ideal destination is, it's not that hard. When we talk about Thailand, like on the podcast, so I started Fight Chase after a few trips over to Thailand, and Fight Chase was fightchase.com. If you've gone there, that's just my gym reviews, product reviews, where I came from. It's kind of like the epicenter of Fight Chase. And then I started the brand. So we had Fight Chase shop. So that's just where you can get merchandise like this. Ooh, if you know this logo, shame on you. That's okay. I know it too. And all sorts of different like cool martial arts type of shirts and things like that. I have hoodies. And these are all designed by me. I come up with the designs. I figure them out. I've learned Photoshop. Same as I've learned all my editing for doing the YouTube channel. learned how to edit all the videos, and that's gone over to the podcast. We've had amazing guests on the podcast. If you haven't listened to the Fight Chase podcast, check that out. We've had John Wayne Parr, Khalil Roundtree Jr., we just had, I mean, we have so many episodes that I haven't even put out yet that are amazing fighters, and I have DJ Jackson, I have, I have Mark Matthews from Ink Master, I have, Savas Michael from One Championship. We have so many people coming up, and we've had so many amazing episodes that are already out, so check those out. But I've learned how now we're putting out videos with those, okay? So I've learned that aspect of it. And what I do with all this is I just want to give you information to help you maybe take a step to make a journey to see that we need to be out and we need to experience things, you need to meet new people, experience cultures, travel. Like, we're not made just to do the 9 to 5 and be stuck in your house like we have been. So they couldn't think of a better time to really go for this ambitious project. Is as soon as I'm able to travel, to be out of this situation again and back into where I'm the happiest in Thailand, I want to bring all of you with me. I want to bring everyone with me. If you don't even help support this financially, please just join the journey. But this video is just me trying to show you the passion that I have, explain the journey, what we're going to have to do to make it happen. Gotta make some money, unfortunately, but people get money to play video games on TV, so I was hoping that we can make this get rolling. I have a few businesses that are looking to come on board. I mean, I've always had great hope product-wise with like Defense Soap and a few other brands that have kind of given me product support. So this is going to be a big thing. That it's going to be a financial thing. All of my money is going to go to it for the next year to make it happen, and that's what it is. Project 52, guys. Let's get it happening. If you come to Thailand, you're part of the show. If you're at home, you're enjoying the show. So thanks, you guys, for listening. Hope you understand how much this means to me, and let's make it happen. Have a great day.